I'm calling it now. Let me think.
2030?
2030. Ferrari driver Kimi Antonelli wins the championship.
Okay. I'm not gonna fight you. I'm not gonna fight it anymore. You know what? I'm gonna bet it. I'm gonna go out and bet on that.
Because
I'm
it's
gonna
gonna
make
happen,
money
yeah.
on your.
That's out of the way now. That was cool.
We finished.
Let's talk about the race.
Okay,
It was
let's
such
go.
a good race, dude.
You're super excited.
I'm so excited,
You
man.
can start it.
We sort of talked about this a little bit before.
A little bit, but we were waiting for this moment. We were saving it.
We were saving it. Okay.
I don't think any of the Formula One drivers are in Fortnite. Man.
Not yet.
If
one of them was going to be, do you think it would be Max or Hamilton? Because I think they're like the two most
maybe
popular ones.
one of the two. Who knows? Maybe Max. I don't see Hamilton playing games, and we know for sure Verstappen does sim. So
yeah, but like Hamilton's more in the celebrity world.
True.
He goes to like galas and stuff. I don't know about Max. Maybe he does.
He was in the Met Gala, I think.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So I don't know. Anyways, welcome back to turn 3.
Random.
Yeah, super random. Sorry about that. What do you got, man? This is
bellissimo. Man, it was a great weekend for Formula One fans, man. It was awesome. The Emilia Romagna didn't disappoint.
Yep.
It was great. Imola.
I'm gonna call you out a little bit.
Okay.
During the last podcast, we said it was Monza, and I in my head I was like, yeah, that makes sense, Italy, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until after, and I was like, oh, I think that's the wrong Italy one.
yeah.
So, anyways, I didn't correct you, so I'm just as bad as you are.
Hey, same country, so
that's true. Yeah, it's funny that they call the other one the Italian Grand Prix and not this one, because that's like Ferrari's home race.
I think both of them kind of are, because I was listening to the TV and they were saying like the factory or the headquarters, it's closer to that place. So I don't know how that works, man. Yeah. And the rumors, it's probably not gonna get reinstated for next year's. I think the track.
Which
I
one?
think it's gonna get cut. This one.
Oh, Imola?
Yeah. Oh, unfortunately, it's I think Formula One having 2 races in Italy, it might be too much at the moment.
There's 3 in the US.
Yeah, but it's not the same, right? It like Las Vegas against Austin is like super far away, and Italy, either way, is like a small country compared to the US and the population too. So
that's fair. Yeah. That's unfortunate because it was such a good race.
It was such a great. Hopefully, they changed their minds after watching the race like us. But yeah, I didn't believe it, man. I wasn't expecting the great racing we watched.
It was crazy. How much and just as a sidebar, real quick before we get into it, this was unfortunately the track where Senna had his fatal incident.
That's correct.
Do you think that there's like a bad rep, it has a bad reputation or something, or?
I think it did before when, of course, that happened, but they have been trying to update the tracks. The sport, it's so new nowadays. Like everything is modern, new cars, like millions of dollars in R&D. So some of these older tracks, they get bad rep because they're not as good for the drivers. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I was reading and I'll show it. Maybe not. I can't reach it, but it's over there. I bought a book on the different tracks.
You told me, yes.
And I was reading about this one, and after the accident, Senna's accident, they made updates or they changed. They made modifications to the track. So what used to be like a straight, from 0 to 200 and then a sharp left turn, now it turns into that first zigzag.
Yeah.
Which is a fantastic segue. And oh no, we have to talk about qualies before we get into the race.
Yeah,
okay, sorry.
You were close.
I was so close. Okay, let's go back. Let's talk about qualies because I think some really, we're talking about accidents. So.
Yes. We love accidents. I think Formula One fans like accidents.
Yeah.
When no one gets hurt.
When no one gets hurt.
That's what we like, right?
Yeah.
No one gets hurt, and this is what happened on Saturday on qualifications. The first one out, I think it was Tsunoda, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that happened really early on in Q1.
In Q1, yes. Unfortunately, Tsunoda crashed into the wall.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was a pretty big crash, like a lot of G's. And then we saw in the camera, we saw him flip a little bit and then came back. So
Yeah.
pretty scary, but he was fine. He was talking in the radio. So yeah.
Yeah, I love watching. Okay, let me take that back. Um, the crashes are a little bit more palpable for me when I see that the driver's is fine, like the driver's fine, and then I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I'm curious. Like with
Mm-hmm.
Grosjean, do you remember that big
Yeah.
explosion one? Like, I still go back and like look at it just to like, oh man, that was such a bad crash.
It was like those, whatever, I think it was like 20 seconds or whatever. It
Hmm.
felt like an hour. Like
Yeah.
for sure, it was like you wanted to see and you couldn't, right? Because the TVs changed like the views and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
everybody was silent, waiting for some news about it. And
Sure.
then we saw him going out of the fire, man, like a phoenix, you know. But
Like a
yeah,
phoenix. That's right.
there hasn't been a better representation as a phoenix
Of a
like him.
phoenix. Yeah. Yeah, it was an early crash. It kind of reminded me of, do you remember Zhou Guan Yu's crash
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think it was like 2 years ago or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Um, when I saw it, I was like, oh man, and luckily, he was fine
It
too.
was perfectly fine, but it was scary. It's scary.
Yeah, for sure.
He was like turned upside down for a while till he was waiting for people to come and help because he was in the middle of the barriers. He was
Yeah,
scary. It's Tsunoda, I think he flipped, but then he came back real soon and he was closer to the marshal. So it was pretty
yeah,
pretty sure.
yeah. And what happens when there's a crash during qualies is like the mechanics know this is gonna be a long night. I have to
Long night, and again, it's a Red Bull car, right? One
Sure.
of the top cars in this season, and went out in the Q1.
Q1.
So you're gonna start at the back or in pit lane. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It's always an uphill battle when that
Yeah,
happens,
poor Tsunoda has a lot of work for the race after
yeah,
that.
for sure.
And then
Um,
you can tell us about the second person that crashed on that day, I think.
uh, I'm gonna let you take that one too.
Okay. No, it's Franco Colampinto.
His
Well,
first time, right?
welcome back to Formula One, you
Welcome
know.
back. Yeah.
Uh, a really, how do you say it? Drama a little bit in Alpine. They dropped, well, they put him as a reserve driver. Jack Doohan, the last races, he hasn't performed as the team wanted, and you know what? They called another team and said, you know what? Can we borrow Franco for like 5 or 10 races?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, go ahead, don't worry. And Franco, it's up to the task. First qualification, he goes and crash into the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember seeing there's like an article or something like that where Duan's dad is like talking about like, you see, you put blah 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 blah. I didn't read it, but I
Yeah.
saw it and I was like, oh, so
A,
much drama surrounding the sport. There's always something going
a
on.
lot of emotions running high for sure. Some people didn't like mid-season 5, 6 races, and Jack Doohan got cut off. But that just shows you how cutthroat the sport is. It's like we need to perform. Like last year, Alpine was one of the best in the season, and
Sure.
right now they're like almost at the back, and you know that's a lot of money. Like depending on
Yeah.
which position you finish in the year, so they're thinking ahead for the next 2026 and hopefully have enough budget for that.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a newer thing with like just lately how cutthroat the sport has been, or if it's always been this way. But like there was a time where you would give a rookie 2 years to sort of,
Hmm.
get into the groove of things, and it seems like now it's not even a full season, and we've seen
Yeah.
it like 2 or 3 times already.
Yes. I think the sport, like you said, is really cutthroat, and I think it's been lately, like the technologies that we have nowadays, and we also have a lot of like really good young drivers, right? A lot
Yeah,
of rookies in Formula 2, Formula 3. We have other series, right? IndyCar, NASCAR. There's a lot of good drivers. So if you don't perform, there's a bunch of guys out there that want to take your place for
yeah,
sure.
and everybody, there's only 20 spots, right, on the team, so
For
everybody.
now, 2020,
That's
22
true.
next year.
That's true.
Yeah, 20 for
Starting next
now.
year,
Yes.
and hopefully one of them
Uh,
is.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Here we go
Don't
again,
say it.
dude.
Don't say it.
Don't jinx it.
But yes, yeah. So
Awesome.
that's pretty much what happened on quali, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about quality results, at least just the first three spots, before we actually get into the
Your
race, right?
boy, your boy.
Of course, Oscar. Oscar, pole position. And then we had Max and then George Russell, right?
Correct.
So, okay. that's out of the way now. That was cool.
We finished.
Let's talk about the race.
Okay,
It was
let's
such
go.
a good race, dude.
You're super excited.
I'm so excited,
You
man.
can start it.
We sort of, we sort of talked about this a little bit
a little bit, but we were waiting for this moment. We were saving it.
We were saving it. Okay. 5 lights off, and away we go. Holy cow! That first turn, man. Where did that come from? So, not a very good launch. Sorry, so much excitement. I'm sorry.
Don't worry. It's understandable.
So, Russell had a really good launch. He's in
great launch.
P3.
Great launch.
And I feel like as Oscar Piastri is like sort of looking over his shoulder for him, that he's not really like paying attention to Max. And like as soon as like before he knows it, I feel like he was right next to him. He go like, "What happened?"
Yes.
And Max had one of the best overtakes I think that I've ever seen, if not the best one that I've ever seen in my few years watching the sport. It was just a phenomenal pass, man.
The best. Same as you, man. I think I started watching Formula One like really good on 2018. So that it's been around 7 years or so.
Yeah.
Is the best driving I have seen ever.
Yeah.
The best one. And we need to give a round of applause to Max for sure. We need to remember he didn't, like you said, he didn't have a great launch. The cars are full of gasoline, full of fuel, so they're harder to control. The tires are cold. They're not in the best temperature. So with everything against him, he still goes on the outside and pass him and didn't give him a chance.
It was such a risky move too. And it in the last few races we've always seen, turn 1 is always just kind of chaotic. We've seen a lot of like, oh, he pushed me off the track and like I can't like there was no room for me or whatever. I do kind of have to commend Oscar to some I know it sounds kind of weird, but commend him for not, like
gave him the space.
For giving the space, for respecting the overtake, right? So I think it's really good. Again, going back to the whole robot thing, most drivers would get on the radio and be like, "Oh man, what's he doing?" Blah blah blah, and he was just super, very cool, very collected, and like, "Oh man, whatever."
Yeah, like you said, I think like he was too focused on Russell behind, like he was closing the inside line, and I think it was the perfect timing for Max. Like he brake late, and he was at 1 second or less than a second. Like he saw Max behind, and right away. He was right next to him and nothing he can do.
Yeah, there was nothing he could do but give him the space.
Yeah, give him the space and just follow through and let him pass. Because again, what a move! What a move!
It was really, really good.
It's gonna be talked about. It's gonna be one of the best moves. I don't know if there's like in soccer there's like el balón de oro, like the goal, the
golden goal, or
I don't know how you say it, but I don't know if there's like an overpass contest. Max would take it.
Overtake of the year or something like
that.
I
don't know. I think that's the move, and he deserved it.
Yeah, I've seen it like on the highlight reel like 10 times already, and I'm like the whole time I'm just thinking like, what a brave, just he went for it, and it worked out.
And he's a dad. It doesn't seem like
true,
he has a daughter waiting for him.
That's true.
Again, Max being Max.
Max just being Max.
So, question for you.
Okay.
Was it Max driving, or was it another German driver that broke records the day before, man?
Are you talking about Franz Hermann?
It's I've been hearing that name for a little bit now.
I think they're either twins or related or something, man, because they look very, very similar.
They look like exactly the same, just like, Franz has the mustache. So maybe that's the difference, he always like Italian mustache.
Yeah, he's like undercover with the trench coat and stuff like that.
But no, great driving.
No, yeah. I'm pretty sure it was Max this time around, but I think Max should watch out for Franz, is what I'm saying.
I wasn't sure, man, because the day before we saw the name, like it wasn't Max driving, it was another guy, so I wasn't sure, but you're correct, it has the name. So.
This time around, for sure, it was Max, but again, I think Max should watch his back for Franz, because I think he's coming for him pretty soon.
Yeah. One race, one victory, the best stats, like 100% winning rate, you know?
That's true. It's his first race, and he like broke all the records, right? So. Awesome. Anyways,
Yeah.
so a little sidebar there. Max takes the lead, and he just stays in the lead almost for the entire race. Max
Doing
continuing to do Max things in a car that is not the best car in the sport. Um,
at this moment.
at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Sure, there was the time. Um, we talked a lot about how Max was, like, is it the car or is it him? And this by far, I think, is the best example or the proof that everybody needed.
Hmm.
He's just a world class act. Like he's the best driver, I think.
Yeah, yeah. He for sure 4-time world champion.
Mhm.
Um, he's the one to beat at the moment, like you said, not the best cars, but he's still making victories,
Yeah.
and he's still fighting for podiums and making the points. He's still in the fight for the championship, right? Um, we need to remember that a bunch of teams brought the upgrades.
That's true.
Red Bull was one of them. I think those upgrades felt good in the car and brought that confidence that Max always has, and he's like, yeah, I'm the best in the
Yeah.
sport. I mean, I'm gonna win and I'm gonna take the victory, and he did that. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think what you just said, I think that's an important point to bring up is like they did bring upgrades,
Hmm.
and so that could potentially have something to do with it. We'll know more as the races go. I mean, we had a triple header, right? So that was the first one. We have two more races.
Hmm.
I mean, I think this is an excellent time to sort of gauge where they're at, where the car is at. Um, but you brought up, that he's the champion, or the defending world champion.
Hmm.
Um, I'm so excited when I look at the drivers' championship, like the rankings.
Hmm.
There's less than 24, 25 points, which is a
Yeah.
race win between one and
Three.
Oscar Piastri and Max Verstappen in third.
Hmm.
And I think that's really exciting to me.
It's super exciting, and what I don't like is like there's two McLarens and one Red Bull. So I don't think they're gonna do it. I think they're gonna fight between themselves too, the
Mhm.
McLarens. But if the opportunity comes in a race that they're both gonna help each other and they're gonna leave Max behind, I think they will do it. They have that. They have that opportunity. They have two cars to play around with, which Red Bull don't have the chance. So they're
Sure.
focusing. Max is focusing on the driver championship. The other
The
one,
constructor's gone.
he's not in his mind right now.
Yeah, the constructor one, I think that's gone. I think everybody sort of accepted that.
Hmm.
At this point, it's fighting for the drivers' championship,
Yeah.
which I feel like it has more like
Hmm.
reputation, if you will,
Yeah.
than the
Yeah.
constructors. So I feel like last year McLaren won the constructors' championship, and like nobody really talks about it.
Hmm.
Everybody just
Hmm.
talks about how Max was the champion.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think they've let that go, and I think Max is just like I can still do it. I'm gonna rely on my skill as a driver to to compete and make the best out of the car that's been given to me. So, um, anyways, where were we? What do we
Yeah.
talk
He
about now?
he he passed Oscar, and
Hmm.
you know what? Max been doing Max stuff. He has free air. He is in the front. He controlled the race. He controlled his pace. He controlled his tires. And you know what? He left everybody behind.
Yep.
And then around what it was like lap what 30, I think something happened.
Yeah. Yeah. We can talk about that, but before
Yeah.
we get into that, let's talk about how early Oscar Piastri pitted, right? Because I think that sort of has to do with the final, the grand
Yeah.
finale
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
race. Um, Oscar pitted, and I thought, like, in my head, I part of me was like, I think this is a little too early to pit.
Hmm.
I think he was like the first person to pit in a
Yeah.
race. Um, and in my head, I don't know, I don't think it quite made sense to me. Um, but we were kind of talking about, you were saying, like, I think his tires were just there. I
Yeah.
think it was
Yeah.
time to change them.
And it could have something to do with it, with maybe, you know what, Max passed him in the beginning, and then all the dirty air from Max,
Hmm.
that, and also like a lot of the teams had a hard time figuring out the degradation of the tires.
Yeah.
So there were, like you said, Oscar was not the only one. There were other people that went early to the pits. I think Charles Leclerc was another one, uh, and they suffered the consequence later. But some of the people that stay longer, the tires came back, and they were good later in the later laps. But yeah,
Do you
Yeah.
think they got to like a good temperature or something,
Yeah.
or something happened to?
It is the tires has been a lot of talk this weekend because they brought in softer tires that what they're usually do in other races.
Got it.
They were trying to figure it out, and I think they were not the best tires for this track. Maybe they went too soft, and that's why there was a lot of degradation.
Okay, got it. Yeah. I and that I do kind of want to talk about that a little bit later
Hmm.
because the tire strategy. I feel like it maybe by accident played a big part in this
Hmm.
race. But anyways, Oscar pits early. Um, obviously, that takes the full amount of time, right?
Yeah.
And then now lap 30, you're about to bring up I assume the virtual safety car.
Correct, correct. We
Um,
have Ocon driving. He comes to the radio and says like there's a problem, and he stops and DNF the car. He stops right there in the access roads, right next to the barriers, and there's a virtual safety car that gives Max Verstappen a free pit stop.
mhm,
Oscar Piastri had pitted before, like 10 or 15 laps before,
yeah.
and he went back again during the virtual safety car. So he lost all the time in the first stop.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because like you sort of start to see the 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 results take
Mm-hmm.
form, right? Like you start to see, oh man, like Oscar pitted early and it took him the full time, and now Max gets like a cheaper or a free
Mm-hmm.
pit stop, because of this virtual safety car, and that's a big disadvantage, right? In a
Yep.
sport where fractions of a second even where they matter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, pitting in a safety car could potentially be the difference between winning a race and losing a race. So,
Yeah.
um, and then also, I think Lando pitted like at a really weird time because it was
Mm-hmm.
like during his pit stop that the virtual safety car came out, which I think was it's still probably a little bit better because people had started to slow down by then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so unfortunate for Oscar Piastri. It was just a luck thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, the team decided that they needed to go early on the
Hmm.
tires. That was the strategy. Again, I think it has something to do with some of the tire degradation. It was too hard for them. It was too much for them, and they just decided. And you know what? The strategy didn't work out, and they paid the price.
For sure.
After that, the BSE ending,
Hmm.
and we go back to racing, right? And Max Verstappen still at the front, newer tires, again dominating the
Just cruising.
yeah. And after that, he was, I think, just laps by laps. He was like 20 seconds ahead,
Yeah,
the second place, which I think was Lando at the
Lando
moment.
at the time. Hmm.
So again, we were saying like how the McLaren did it on Miami. He was like 30 seconds ahead at the end of the race. So Max was doing it. Max doing Max things. He was at the front, clean air, newer tires, and he had the control, and there was no way
Yep.
that someone was gonna catch up to him, except Formula One always surprises. Formula One never disappoints, and you
Never
cannot
disappoints
celebrate until the checker flag.
until the checkered flag. That's right. Because okay, so lap 40 something,
47.
47-ish or
Yeah.
something like that. Um, so we get
Kimi Antonelli.
Kimi Antonelli. It's some
Home race with a bunch
Oh,
of.
that's true.
He's an Italian. I saw a meme before we get into it. I saw a meme really funny. He got a bunch of Italians to wear a different outfit that wasn't a Ferrari because he's
Oh,
Mercedes.
that's right.
So
Yeah.
he's still 18, so he's still in school, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
he got his classmates to come into the track, I think on Friday, and they were all wearing
The Mercedes.
the Mercedes merch, but they're all Italian, so they
Yeah.
should be wearing the red ones.
Do you think that like it's just natural for him to end up in Ferrari at some point? Like, if he proves himself and stuff.
I think that's the perfect story for Ferrari. If
Yeah.
he does a great job, which is he's doing right now, it looks like his future is promising. At some point, he's gonna end in Ferrari.
I'm calling it now. Let me think.
2030.
2030. Ferrari driver Kimi Antonelli wins the championship.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fight you. I'm not gonna fight it anymore. You know what? I'm gonna bet it. I'm gonna go out
And
and bet on that.
because
I'm
it's
gonna
gonna
make
happen. Yeah,
money on your
yeah.
on your
On my
luck.
predictions,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 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 for
And
sure.
we'll talk about them in a little
Yeah,
bit because
we'll get to it.
very good. Yeah. Anyways,
But yeah,
Kimi Antonelli, his car, something, engine, something,
something happened.
whatever. So he pulls over. Um, and again, we talked a little bit before the race, and so I'm gonna let you kind of say your
Yeah,
piece again, like we did earlier, right? Um, Kimi, same issue. He pulls over, but this time it's a safety car, like an actual safety car.
correct, correct. And when I was watching the race at that moment, man, I was so pissed. I was like, the FIA is tricking the it's making what's the word?
Um,
They're cheating. The FIA is cheating against Max because they want Max to lose and the McLaren's to win. That's what I was going
mhm,
through my head at the moment. And then I took a breath. I went into Twitter
mhm,
and I was getting more mad.
mhm,
But then I saw a comment that said the reason why this time was a safety car instead of a virtual safety car was because Kimi Antonelli stopped on the grass and the crane had to come and pick his car up, instead of Ocon. That what happened is he parked the car right next to the access road, so they were able to push the car out. That was the difference.
that was the difference.
That was the difference, and yeah, no, the
And
FIA was correct. I'm
and it's good
sorry,
to know.
FIA. I'm sorry. I got
It's
pissed for a second. Sorry.
um, it's good. I don't know if you open Twitter to like talk smack to the FIA or
I,
to
I
read up on.
I check first before
Okay.
I tweet. First of all, it's called X now, but I Twitter.
Sure. Sorry,
No,
Elon or
yeah,
whatever.
sorry. But yeah, no, I check first, and then if my gut is correct, I go
And
and
then go
tweet.
after the
But you know
FIA. Yeah.
what? In this case, it wasn't. A lot of people
Mhm.
wasn't, but yeah, yes,
I gotta say, that's probably the first and probably the only time that I've ever heard that somebody went on social media and actually calmed down as
yes.
opposed to just like escalated.
You know, I'm a mature person. What can I say?
Yeah, you like to admit when you've made a mistake.
Yes, yes, yes. No, no, but yes, that's what happened. That was the difference. And of course, this time around, there's a safety car.
Mhm.
Of course, a lot of people go into the pits, free pit stop for Max Verstappen, newer tires. But there were some drivers that they didn't have some, they didn't have tires to make it till the end of the race.
Yeah, they
So
ran out of tires, right?
they had to they got stuck with all tires,
Yeah.
and there was nothing they could do about it.
Yep.
And that's where the tire strategy comes into play. And all of that, it comes into play since qualis. That's when you decide how many tires you're going to use.
Mhm.
Even in practice, how many mediums are going to use, how many hard, how many soft, and
Yeah.
you get left off like, you know what, these are the tires that we're going to use on the race, and that's it.
Yeah, it's it's funny because just this weekend I was looking at qualies and I was looking at the lap times and I don't know, whatever, just whatever they were. Um and then I'm looking at the race and I'm like there's such a big difference between the lap times during a race
Mm-hmm.
and the ones that like during qualies. And it's because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but qualies you sort of set up the perfect, scenario for
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Like
Mm-hmm.
you put just enough fuel to make it, to go around. You can put on the best tires and make them, like you could put on new soft tires if you want.
Yeah.
Sure, you'll run out of tires at the end of the
You
race
only
or
have
the
one lap.
weekend. Yeah, exactly. So like it's a gamble and it's strategy, but
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, that's what this sport is about, and
Yeah.
that's why we like it so much because it's not just like get in and drive. Like there's a lot that goes into it.
A lot of stuff that goes into it, a lot of people that work in each team, like thousands and thousands of people for everybody together. It's the biggest. I heard one quote one time. It was the biggest show, the biggest show, and it goes all over the world, and they move it around,
I like it.
and yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah. So the safety car comes out, and you've had a chance to calm down. You're looking at this, and with the safety car, we've seen it time and time again. They're like an accordion. Everything just kind of like
Everybody
compresses.
gets a squeeze, and the gap that Max Verstappen had 20 seconds to the second place, goes away, and they're right next to each other again. Right, the second place with at that moment was Piastri.
Correct.
He was right behind him with older tires, but he was and Lando right behind Piastri with newer tires.
With newer tires, yeah. And then the safety car ends. Max Verstappen,
Again,
he determines when they go and he takes off. And
we need to again clap for Max. He always does great restarts like that. He always gets that little push and gets the gap for the second place, so they don't have the DRS right away. It's awesome. I don't know how he does it, but most of the times he always great.
I think I'll tell you. I think I know exactly how he does it. Is that he doesn't have P2 or whoever's behind him right next to him like he used to do it before.
Yeah.
Which, like the rule changed.
Yeah,
right?
the
Like,
max rule.
The max rule. They made that rule for him because he would get right up next to them. I'm still behind you, but
Again, these Formula One nowadays is you need to play those gray areas.
Sure.
At that time, Formula One allowed the cars. The rule was the nose doesn't have to pass the other nose. So the tire, it doesn't matter as long as you don't pass the other nose. You're like you can be right next to each other. So that's and
now it's I think the front mirror or something like that. Or
no, it has to be behind.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much behind of it. You can be on the side, but like behind.
Okay, fair enough. So he takes off. He puts in enough gap between him and Oscar Piastri, and at that point it sort of it doesn't become who's going to win the race. At least to me, it was more about how is this McLaren combination going to work? Is it going to be papaya rules and let him through so he can chase Max? Is it going to be race or whatever? That's where my head was at that restart and what's going to happen and how is this going to play out? And I think that I don't want to step on your toes or anything. I know you were kind of talking about it, but I was sort of expecting because we heard Lando come on the radio saying something like, I have fresher tires. If we want a shot at winning this, you guys know what to do.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. That kind of like it wasn't even passive aggression. It was more like this is the world that we're in right now.
Yeah.
And even then there was no radio. They raced it out, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is I don't know how I feel about it.
It depends on which perspective you look at it. If you're looking at it from Oscar, you're like fighting for the world champion and you're winning right now. Are you gonna let your closest rival pass you and make those extra points?
Sure.
Even though it's your teammate?
Yeah.
From a team perspective, look, it's like okay, the best option probably was let Lando pass you, fresher tire. He has it's the fastest car than the Red Bull. Is the better chance of winning the race.
Correct.
I am from Lando's side. It could be interpreted different, but
Sure.
yeah.
I just, if we skip ahead to the interviews that they're doing, Oscar seemed like, he had fresher tires. It was going to happen. It was a matter of time. I tried defending as best as I could, but it was going to happen. I feel like if the team order had come through, I think Oscar would be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he would have fought it. I don't think he would have been angry about it or anything. I mean, he's a robot. We go back to that. He doesn't have feelings or emotions.
Yes.
But yeah, anyways, so that's how the race finishes.
Max Verstappen again, being Max Verstappen wins the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Imola.
And then we have Norris in second place.
Norris after passing Piastri again, newer tires. It was expecting Oscar P3. That's the podium for Imola.
Okay. Predictions from last time.
Editor,
get ready. Get ready.
4-0.
4-0.
4-0.
Okay. So here's my thinking. Right. Is that so Max won, and then I said that Piastri and Norris were going to be the opposite way, right?
Yeah.
So Piastri 2 and Norris 3. I think that I have maybe like the almanac that we were talking about, or the magical power to determine who's going to win a race or whatever. And so I think I owe Oscar an apology a little bit, because I feel like my prediction is what made him lose.
Yes.
Right?
Because it was your power.
It was my power.
Yeah.
So I think I want to apologize to Oscar, but I have something special prepared. Give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
I want to apologize to him in his like native tongue.
Oh my god.
So here we go. 01010011 011011111.
You couldn't say it more clearly.
So stupid. It was heartfelt.
In my feelings, man.
In
my feelings.
Right in the feels.
No. Well, very well said.
Very well said. Yeah, I couldn't have.
Yeah. Oscar,
I had to write it down. You know
Oscar, we expect your answer. Oh my god.
All right. Let's talk about the next race real quick before we end and conclude for the day.
Predictions for the next race.
For the next race. Oh man, it's Monaco.
It's Monaco.
It's a parade.
Is there even a point, man? Are you gonna win again? Are you gonna? I can at least try, right?
I think. Let's try something else. So what were we at 4-0, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to make a crazy prediction, a crazy prediction that might like lose.
And then you're gonna get it, man.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, right?
Okay.
I'm gonna make a crazy prediction, and if I win, I get 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm
you'll
okay
see why
with
it's
that.
a crazy.
I'm okay with it.
And if I don't, which is likely, then you get your points or whatever.
Okay.
You like that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Why don't you give your predictions first, and then I'll.
Okay, it's Monaco, right?
Monaco.
Oof. I'm gonna give it to Max Verstappen. Cool. I think the homeboy is gonna take it away. I think the car is in not the best place, but in an okay place. I think qualifying is it's gonna be the big thing, of course. And I think Max excels at that. So I'm gonna go Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri, Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri, Leclerc.
Okay. 3 different teams on the podium. Okay. Here's my crazy prediction. Maybe you don't think it's crazy, but I think it's kind of crazy. But I'm gonna go
Checo
for it.
Perez.
He comes back.
Reserve driver for the day.
No, not that. Okay, so I'm gonna take us back to the year like 2020, and I'm gonna say that Lewis Hamilton wins Monaco.
That would be, oh my god.
Okay, and then in P2 we're gonna have Verstappen, and then in P3 Piastri.
Nice. So you're saying like at some point we're gonna see some Hamilton Verstappen fighting?
Yeah,
really.
That's what I hope. Well, I mean, fighting whatever that means in Monaco.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
we have seen crashes, so
that's true. Oh, and then a little bit different this time around. I think they're like mandating a 2-stop.
Yes. Really, they're trying different things. Again, they're updating the sport as we speak.
Sure.
They're trying to.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Monaco is usually a very boring race.
Yeah.
And the most important thing happened on Saturday on qualifiers to see who gets pole. But they're trying, hopefully, with these 2 pit stops, makes the strategy a little bit more interesting and hopefully not super straightforward.
Yeah. If aside from being just a great race this time, the Emilia Romagna, aside from it being like a really interesting race, I think that it also served to show us how like tire strategy can really change the outcome of a race. So maybe the 2-stopper, like that 2-stop mandate is what Monaco needs, and I'm kind of hoping, because man, I like last year, for example, like it was Checo Perez crashed in like the first lap or something like that. Everybody changed tires, and then boom, they're done.
Yeah, I stopped watching right away.
Yeah.
No,
as you should.
Hopefully, the only time there's like really good racing, maybe we have like a crash, or maybe like the rain sometimes comes and stuff like that. We're always waiting something outside of the norm to make it more exciting. Hopefully, the race is what makes it exciting. Hopefully, with this 2 pit stop, maybe it's not so much force them to make 2 pit stops. Maybe it's more like what happened this last time. Maybe we bring tires, like softer tires. They're gonna degrade faster, and you guys need to figure it out. And most likely, you're gonna have to make a 2 pit stop strategy.
So you're saying instead of making it a rule, make it such that it's like physically impossible to go the whole race.
I don't think they expected what happened this time, and I think that had a lot to do with make it more interesting, the race.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I hope so. Anything else?
Yeah, no, I think we talk a lot. There's a lot more than we can talk. Like Aston Martin, the strategy at the end was horrible. Alonso was really pissed.
Yeah, he was.
Williams at the end of the race are P5 in the
That's
championship.
true.
Albon was also, I think, finished P5, if I'm not mistaken.
He was so close to getting a podium.
Yeah. Again,
so crazy,
super
man.
amazing. Ferrari came back to finish four and five.
Fourth and sixth.
4 and 6. Yuki Tsunoda finished in the point. He started 20, finished 10. Even if it's 1 point, it's great, and he did a great recovery. So a bunch of other stuff that we could go into that, but you know what? It's that's what we love Formula One, right?
Yeah, for sure. And as it is, I think this is already going to be a long video. Like it's just that's why it was such a good race. There's so much to talk about, and we can only cover so much. So
yeah, but I'm excited.
Sure.
Monaco, the creme de la creme, the Formula One, the crown jewel.
The crown jewel, that's what it is.
Yeah, for sure. The bougie people, the jets.
Are you gonna take your yacht to
no. I might get a ride with Checo. Checo told me that he might want to go, or still undecided. He said like it might be awkward with Christian there, and
Yeah.
So we're still not decided yet.
Has he tried to have or has he thought about maybe having an alternate persona like Max has France?
He's thinking about
it.
I think he's talking to his manager. They're still unsure on the name, so they don't know if they want to go full Mexican or maybe a mix in there.
Like a Tex-Mex thing, maybe.
Exactly. The market, the U.S. and Mexico market, great for.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a tough decision. I wish him the best of luck.
Yeah, I'll let you know. He was supposed to text me later.
Yeah, I'll be with Oscar and the podium.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because my prediction isn't even that he's gonna win. But anyways,
no, that's great. It was a great weekend.
For sure, man. Yeah. That's all we have, guys. So catch us on the next race.
Thank you very much.